Okay, how many of you in the past, let's say, week, have said to someone else, wow, you should write a book on that? Have you said that? Or have you said it maybe about yourself? I should write a book on that. And some of you know about stories you could tell on one another, but we're not going to go there, okay? But the wonderful thing about my new job is I get to help people tell their stories and get their books out. So I'd like to give you a quick story about how all that happened. And it happened with the Kentucky Speakers Association. I got a call last year, and the call said, Kathy, we understand that you were able to write one of your books in less than 6 weeks. Is that right? And I said, yeah, actually I've written 4 of my 5 books in less than 6 weeks. And they said, wonderful, wonderful. What we'd really like for you to do is give a program to our members on how you do that. And I said, I would love to do that. And they said, but wait, there's more. What we'd really like you to do is coach 2 of our members who are working on their books, and then at the end of 6 weeks, give a program. And I said, oh my gosh, you had me at give a program. But you really got me at coach 2 people. Because I thought, I know it works for me, but does it work for other people? So I was able to coach these 2 members along. And what was so much fun along the way, they said, Kathy, if you ever decide to leave this HR stuff, you could do this. And I got to thinking about that because I think at some stage in our careers, we're always thinking about reinventing ourselves. So I thought, maybe you could do that. And I gave the program to the speakers group, and everybody came up to me and said, Kathy, you should do this. So I decided I would do this. But what was interesting is once I decided I would do it, I thought, all my books are on HR. But if I'm going to coach people in writing their books, guess what I need to now do? Yeah, I need to write a book about writing a book. And if it's about writing a book in 6 weeks, guess what I need to do? Yeah, I need to write a book about writing a book in 6 weeks. In 6 weeks. So that's exactly what I did. And I wrote On Your Mark, and it was really, really exciting to do that. So I know how powerful it is to get your story out and to tell that story and to share that story. And you know what? As association folks, you have lots of stories in your organization. If you think about the power of story and what story does for your association, members can share their experience, their knowledge, their wisdom with others through story. Traditions are passed along. Culture is established. If you think historically how we've told stories, story is really, really powerful stuff. So it's important to tell our stories. And to illustrate that, I have a story, surprisingly enough, about stories. And in this story, there's a master and his student. And every day, the student goes to the master and hears stories of wisdom. And one day, the student says, Master, I've been thinking about this, and I'm wondering, why do you always tell stories? And the master said, go and bring me some water. So the student goes and gets a beautiful brass bowl, fills it with water, and brings it to the master. To which the master says, why do you bring me a brass bowl when all I asked for was water? And that is the power of story. It contains the truth that we have to share with one another. So if storytelling is so darn important, and I do believe it is, especially in associations, then why don't we tell our stories? I think there's several reasons. One reason is we don't have time always to tell our stories. And there's that time crunch. But I think if we can say, okay, this is important, we're going to carve out time, we can make it happen. The second issue is focus. And sometimes I think if we just have that intention to tell our story, we can get it out there. And in fact, what I started creating for my coaching clients is a button. And I said, this button is magic, but only if you wear the button. And it says, ask me about my book. I said, even before you've written the first word, you start wearing the button. And you start creating an intention that I'm going to not only wear this button because I'm writing a book, but I am, in fact, writing a book. I'm going to tell my story. But I think there's a third reason, and the third reason is that many of us have a negative voice in our head. that negative voice in our head is a really, really loud voice. And that voice is our editor, our critic, whatever you want to call that voice. And the voice is pretty mean and pretty powerful. And the voice says things like, well, who do you think you are telling your story? Who's going to listen to your story? Shouldn't that friend of yours over there tell their story? And certainly that was my issue when I was writing my first book, which is, by the way, the book that I did not write in 6 weeks. What happened was I was speaking at a conference, and I got a call from an acquisitions editor who said, we love the topic that you're speaking on, aging workforce issues. We'd love to have a book on that. Are you interested? And within a month, I had a contract and a check, which was really cool. I had a royalty check in my hand. So every day, my husband would come home from work to the home office where I was working, and he'd say, well, did you get started on the book? I said, not yet. I'm getting ready. I'm clearing off things, you know, and every day it was something, I have other things that I have to do, and I was putting it off. I didn't know why I was putting it off. And simultaneously, I started having a recurring nightmare. Now, I don't know if you've had any recurring nightmares before, but this was the essence of a dream. I would be in a group like this, speaking maybe in front of a group of professionals, or maybe meeting with a group of clients or prospects, and I would look down, and oh my gosh, I forgot to wear clothes. I was completely naked, and I had this dream over and over, and I was thinking, this is a little weird. Around the same time, I was on a business trip, and the seat pocket in front of me was a Working Woman magazine. So I was looking through the magazine, and there was an article about the dreams of executive women. And guess what? Number one dream of executive women was the naked dream. And I'm thinking, really? So I have to read this. What is this about? They said, well, executive women promoted into their role. All of a sudden, I get thinking, people are going to find out I really don't know my stuff, and I'm going to be exposed. And so it was about that feeling of being exposed and vulnerable. And I thought, well, that's not me. You know, I have my own business. I'm, a speaker. That's not me. And then I thought, what am I doing? I am writing a book. And what is writing a book? It is documenting for the world my level of incompetence. And that was the realization that I had. So once I was able to face that fear and say, wow, that's what it was, then I was able to finish the book. So I challenge you, I think each one of you has a story inside of you that needs to be told. And furthermore, many of your members have stories that need to be told, that should be told. When we write our stories, when we write those stories down, we are documenting not only what we know, but we are allowing others to bear witness to our purpose in this life. And that is really important stuff that we have to do. So I encourage you, are you thinking about telling your story? I'd love to help you tell your story. Thank you all very much.